Good evening, all. I think we just have to kick off immediately, like we said. It's 4 p.m. prompt, and while others are joining, we'll just have to get started. So, you know that we're working with time, and most of our special guests and other persons also have other engagements for the day. So, we just have to start off immediately. So I can hand over to the moderator of the day to do his job as planned. Before we start, I just want to quickly appreciate everybody who has joined, early enough for this session. And I also want to particularly thank you all, our discussants who have made it out time to join. It's not my bit to this appreciation, but I will leave it for the moderator to do his job. But quickly, I just want to give a little background to what we do and Out of Home Academy as a project. Looking at back where we started from, industry, we observe that is a little bit having new entrants into the industry, especially in the out of home space. We begin to observe that most of us who are very fresh in the industry and who are young in the industry are not catching up or are not equipped in terms of experience-wise. So we begin to deem it necessary to begin to create a kind of educational programs, which we started from Coach Academy since mid last year. And by God's grace, we are here almost in the 5th session, which we are having in this April. But before I want to thank all the media partners who supported us on the last program we just had last month, which is our location intelligence workshop. I would just want to, for those of us that missed it out, and for the ones who are not in out of home space fully, I'll just try and play a rundown of what the program was like so that we could just quickly see what it was.
Gentlemen, what is happening in the digital space is beginning to happen in out of home. Out of home has the ability to target. We can literally target who we want.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is the country manager at Popoola. Please let's welcome Mr. John Olalekan. For any agency here, if you have a e-commerce business presence, right, and you're looking for testimonials from the people you work with, or just anyone who has had an encounter with your agency, it's possible to respond to all of those comments that people have made about your business.
Another thing that we use to do this is social media. So we are able to also know what people are talking about in locations.
The longer people spend on location, that means the opportunity for engagement.
Thank you for your time. I really enjoy this.
Thank you, and that is just the short clips of the rundown of on the 31st of March this year. And I want to use the opportunity to thank all the media partners who have supported us, and also thank APCON especially for collaborating with us on this project. And it was a huge success for us. Without wasting our time, I will hand over to the moderator of the day to take up so that we'll be able to hit the ground running as fast as possible. So, Korede, please, if you are here, can you
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone on this call. Just taking off from where Kingsley stopped. A massive thank you to all the speakers for taking time out of their busy schedule to actually be with us on this call. So just jump right into it. so as not, I know it's Friday and everybody is, geared up for the long holiday. Yes, so most of the time we hear a lot of people say, less is more, less is more. You have to keep it short, you have to keep it, on point and all that. Well, maybe less is more for people, when you go for lunch, less is more may not necessarily, work in that context. So I will just ask our speakers, what does less is more mean to them? So I will start off with the only lady in the room. Jumoke, yes, thank you for joining us. So in your own perspective, what does less is more mean?
Thanks, Korede. I don't know how people always say they want to start off with the only lady in the room. From what I understand in advertising, there's no lady or gentleman. We're all like, creators. Anyway, for me, I'm going to speak from a brand perspective, of course. For me, less is more. It's something that we struggle with, because outdoor is like the most expensive medium. We all know that. And if I'm going to pay X amount for a digital out of home, of course, the instinct is for me to want to pack everything, to say everything. I want to, if I put my whole strategy on that board so that the consumer can see everything that I want to do. But of course, we all know that it doesn't work that way because of the fact that out of home is very fleeting. People are passing through either in, maybe riding on the bus, or maybe they're even the ones driving or they're being driven. So if it's not short and sharp, they're going to miss it. So of course, losses more basically means that you need to ensure that you say as little as possible and ensure that your consumers still get the message that you're trying to pass across to them. And one thing, again, is it's important for people to understand that out of home, in my understanding, I might be wrong because I know that there are lots of professionals here in out of home. I'm just like the clients, right? I'm the ones that kind of bring all the edicts to you guys. But I believe that out of home is literally a reminder medium. And if I'm wrong, please, I would like someone in the room to correct me. So you cannot use that as, it's a reminder medium. It's something that, okay, someone has seen, probably had your radio, seen your TVC, or seen something else on social media or something. And the out of home is supposed to basically just, quickly just, take it back to their top of mind, just to, draw them back to it. So it's less is more is important regarding that, because it's supposed to just remind them, just to prompt them again that, oh, we're still here. Okay, yes, this is going on. Okay, yes, this is happening, or this brand is here, or we're saying this. So it should be, out of them should be focused on your key message, what you basically want the client to take away. It's more or less like, a very compressed version of an elevator pitch, whereby you just tell them, okay, this is it, this is it, this is it, and then they move on, because there is no room, for you to pack in everything in, even though as a client, and if you think about the money you're paying, you want to put everything in there. So so less is more is something that I think for brands, like my brand, is something that we're always try to focus on, and to ensure that we don't overburden the consumer, because if they don't see everything you're putting out there, people would not really remember. And that happens a lot, especially when it comes to out of home, like lampposts. I see people trying to put in 3, 5, 6 sentences, in a lamppost, and I'm trying to really struggle to even read what is written, or to even catch it before I move to the next one, and it's a struggle. So people do that, but it doesn't work. Believe me, nobody gets the message, and even when they do see it, by the time they hit, then 2 seconds later they've forgotten, and that should not be the aim after spending so much on an out of home. So less is more is definitely the route to go when it comes to out of home for me.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Jumoke, for the way you put out your thoughts on that question. Actually, it was quite in depth. So I would allow our president, Mr. Steve Babaeko, to shed more light on what exactly is less is more from an out of home perspective, because we know that for TV, radio, it might be different, but for out of home, it's it's a different space on its own. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Korede, and thank you to Jumoke for at least setting the ball rolling. I think she's given, even though she doesn't want us to talk about the only lady in the room, I think she's given it that important touch that only a lady can provide. So I'm just going to go ahead and hopefully build on her thought process. I think we are aligned in what she has articulated regarding less is more, except for one little mute point that I think I should speak on. That outdoor is a reminder medium. That's what it used to be. I think out of home has now become more powerful than those days when it just serves as a reminder medium. So in the entire mix of all of the channels that you use to build your brand, out of home now becomes a very powerful tool, because the way technology has affected all the other media space, out of home is not left alone. You understand? You can, if you were to overlay your mobile strategy, you can actually currently overlay your mobile strategy with your out of home strategy to create even a much more amplified messaging. But we can leave that. Where me and Jumoke are aligned is in the messaging. You know, now this is the age of storytelling, right? So how do you create the messaging? Has to be less is more should be the payoff line for any kind of campaign you want to run on out of home now today, because yes, the client wants to see their logo bigger. They want to see, we know the regular stuff that some clients will demand them not to overgeneralize, but in terms of wanting to cram all of the messages on, like Jumoke rightly said, you see maybe some lampposts with about 100 words when it's not like we're writing an essay in primary school. So it's, nobody's going to have the time to read all of those things. But in this age of storytelling, how are you, imagine what used to happen when Instagram, you only had 15 seconds to tell your story. So, I mean, all these influencers and all of those Instagram influencers, they have like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, they can do a skit for 3 minutes. Earlier it was 15. You couldn't tell the story in 15 seconds, that was all you had. So I think it's the same thing with out of home. How do you tell your story in the most succinct manner? I think that is what less is more is all about, because frankly, with the power of technology today and all of the things that out of home is allowed to do, the kind of elbow room and the kind of space they have to operate on that medium.
Okay. I think you went on mute there, sir.
What happened? Okay, so I don't think we've even scratched the surface of all of the opportunities we have in terms of being able to display messages here. Well, I think in the long run, in terms of your storytelling, in terms of your crafting of your message, you guys couldn't have said it any better. Let's definitely.
Okay. Okay, for those joining us, if you have any question, you could just drop them, they would ask. Jesujoba, I know you are a copywriter, saying some of the things that you've put out there over, so in maybe like 20, 30 seconds, what's, from an out of home point of view, what exactly is, or what does less is more mean to you? Yeah, it could be general, it could be out of home.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all. Yes, so for me, less is more, like Jumoke, about being able to concisely I'll speak from 8, 10 words, you're using 10 words too many, right? So you need to be able to pack a punch in your first 5 to 7 words. You summarize your campaign. The mistake most people make is they try to repurpose the creatives they've done for print and for digital, to just on billboard. Just cascade it to this dimension and keep the copy as it is, while you're supposed to be able to product or the service or the value your product is offering in as few words as possible with a very impactful creative as well. So since you said 30 seconds, I hope I didn't exceed.
No, yeah, thanks for your response on that. Okay, Lekon, I know, as a creative person, as a creative director yourself, and I know you've been opportune to develop creatives across media touch points, out of home inclusive. So over the few years, what would you say has been or is your fair assessment of the out of home creatives in Nigeria? So like are we there yet, or we're still taking baby steps? Are we still, maybe there's one particular template that everybody tries to work with, or people, like Jesujoba said, and everyone also has said is, trying to put assessment of the out of home creatives in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Korede. Good evening, everyone. Boss, good evening, sir. So, I mean, I don't think we've started scratching this yet. I don't think so. Like Oga Steve actually said, but I basically getting there. I remember when I pretty much started my career, very eager to actually disrupt the space in terms of doing some level of ambience marketing, trying to create something that is actually suitable to environment to actually still pass the message across. And most times what you would see is what Jumoke rightly said, trying to squeeze in all the words, the message into the same material, just basically because the budget that was allocated to those particular things are kind of high. So you want to basically just squeeze out everything that you can get by the amount that you're spending. I mean, if you are spending 10 million on outdoors, so you want to basically use it to get all the impacts that you can get. But I think the mistake that a lot of them do is not playing by the principles that actually guide outdoor advertising. And the question that we should really ask ourselves is, do a lot of them really know what these principles are? So for example, what is OOAN actually doing to actually sensitize people about these principles? I mean, if you look at Facebook advertising, for example, if you have too many words, your ad would not be approved. So it's the same principle really, in place also for outdoor advertising. I mean, these are things that we need to start, cross-checking. You can't put all your wordings in there. So there's a central message that you're trying to pass across. So probably your header, which should be a few words, less than 10 words maybe. And then there should be a call to action. And again, because you're telling stories, I mean, this is a canvas that you have the opportunity to actually tell your story and also pass a message across. It doesn't limit you to the word. So how are you marrying that to create an amazing balance where the visual helps you tell the story to an extent, then the words, as short as it could be, helps you complete it. Then the call to action, while your logo is there also, and then where should they go? I mean, if you look at it, I mean, with that in mind, you can actually do beautiful stuff. I mean, one of the things that I know about creativity is when you have too many boxes, you should be able to come out with, something more creative. I mean, the more restrictions that you have,
okay.
the more your creative juice, be impactful.
Okay. Okay. So I'll go back to Mr. Steve's, when he was, talking about less is more. Where do we draw that gap, that space between TV ads, radio ads, and how do we put it in such a way that it actually synchronizes? Because most of the time, out of home creatives, or when developing out of home creatives, is seen as something, as an afterthought. So when you've done, you've taken, you put up your the pictures, everything, you've done photography, you've done everything, then it's like somebody now remembers, oh yeah, out of home is supposed to be on this thing. Okay, so let's just, so you just see texts running left, right, and center. There's no conscious effort towards developing creatives for out of home. So how do, should I say, brands, or how do brand custodians, try to bring everything together so there is synchronization across.
Okay, I mean, to answer that quickly, I mean, there was something that, funny enough that he's here. Steve actually taught me many years ago, right? But I'll say, we talked about campaign, how you actually build campaigns. And he kind of, situated it to a similar war scenario. Like if you're going to go to war, you're going to be fighting many battles. And you're not going to fight those battles the same way. I mean, there is the foot soldiers, there's the Navy, there are the special ops, there are the, so there are the guys that come from, there are the guys that come from the sea. And then the strategy basically is to know when to deploy which one and to still ensure that everybody goes with the same objective, which is basically to win the war. So now if we bring it back to how we actually develop creativity, develop creatives, the truth is it's a campaign. And I think one of the things that we actually miss is we stand in isolation, which shouldn't be in the first place. Your TV is going to pass the message across. Your out of home, whichever way you want to do it, should actually reinforce, some of these messages. Probably TV. For TV, you have the opportunity to actually tell the entire story. For radio, you also have an opportunity to tell, a larger percentage of that story.
Yeah.
But out of home, you don't have that opportunity. So it's basically to reinforce what you have told on TV or what you're likely saying on radio. And then probably digital and whatever way, other things you want to do on social media should, kind of also help in ensuring that as I see the TV, I go on my way to work, on my way home, I see billboards that actually listen to radio. While I'm on my phone, then I see some other version of it that is suitable to me. I mean, these are things, and it's a design thinking thing that we must begin to do from like the beginning. So you put into consideration all of the platforms that you have, your demographic, who you are speaking to, the location, and all of those things. You put them into consideration, and you develop according to the people who those people are, how they're going to see it, and how the message should be best passed across to them.
Okay, so
all of these things we must consider from the beginning.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, I just wanted to. So from what you're saying now is we need to have like a multi-layered kind of should I say messaging for out of home. Is that what you're like in summary of what you're saying?
Not necessarily multi-layered. The messaging must be the same, but you must consider the platform, and you must consider those that will be seeing it. I mean, whatever billboard you're going to put in Gerard Road or you're going to put on Alexander Road in Ikoyi, you don't expect that same messaging should be the same you put in Ajegunle, even though we are selling the same product. You must consider the people that are going to see it, and then you speak to them, how best you can actually speak to them.
Okay, so let me just ask Presido this question. So it's just trying to go back to the question I asked that Lekan, from the little that we've seen, and I'm sure a lot of my colleagues here would, I'm trying not to, make the question, not try to belabor the question, but it's still seen as, out of home creatives are still seen as an afterthought. So the question is this: what can brand owners, brand custodians, agency experts, what can be done to actually change this narrative?
Well, very well said, Korede. The thing is that afterthought is coming from the mindset we all have that it's a reminder medium. So once you call something a reminder medium, it becomes. I don't know. I'm apologies to the non-Yoruba speakers. They'll say, "Money cooking you know, it's just one. It's a cutaway, you know." And once that mindset is there, it's difficult for you to now change that direction of thought that makes it a much more holistic part of your marketing mix in terms of channel application. The thing is, the way to go forward is, you know, right since Adam was a small boy in this business, they always tell you about having a big idea. Okay, if you have a big idea, that big idea, what it enables you to do, regardless of whatever media channel you're using, there's a central messaging that is already embedded in your strategy for that particular campaign. Now, you can further break it down, just like I think that was the point Lesson was trying to make, is that, okay, now you can then now focus on the peculiarity of each particular media channel, whatever it is that you have. You know, there are people who go to the gym and build muscles, right? Some people, their biceps are stronger. In some people, it's their abs. It's like, so everybody have their own specialty. So, and the same thing for each of the media channel. But a couple of years ago, what people were talking about, what the big marketers were talking about globally was a media neutral strategy, marketing strategy. To say, don't think of any media at all. Think of an idea, and then you can then put it on your media channel. Because you see, in thinking of media, you are even already restricting your own idea and your own creativity. So come up with the power of that creativity first. Don't think of media channel, and then you can deploy. Because today, tech has made each of the media channels stronger than they used to be. Today, you can overlay geolocation on your out of home, in which case, it can target somebody who is in Mushin by Chicken Republic. Chicken Republic can say, okay, now we no longer have chicken available in the country. We can now serve rice and egg in Mushin. And just like it was trending on social media, rice and egg.
That's a good PR direction.
Exactly. So you can do all of those things that you couldn't do before. So the thing is about, I think it's still media neutrality in terms of strategy can still help you to be much more holistic in your application. Is what I think.
Okay, I noticed you raised your hand. I know you're about to let it go. So okay, you're on mute.
Thanks, Korede.
Yeah.
So I just want to say two things. Does not make it any less important, and doesn't make it an afterthought. That's not what I mean by that. But the fact that you really need to say very little in out of home, go straight to the point. At most, a few words. And sometimes you would definitely need, other mediums to support this. So that's why I feel it's sort of a reminder medium. So that was what I meant on that. But I totally agree with what Mr. Steve said regarding approaching things from a media neutral strategy. No problem. So the neutral media strategy thing is the way to go. And I'm speaking from experience, right? I can only speak from experience, what I know. In terms of you cannot plan your campaign. Maybe you just want to run an engagement campaign on social media whereby, you just want to maybe drive end media on social media using influencers or something, but you cannot plan a full marketing campaign focusing on the medium that you want to use. You're not going to plan a whole strategy around TV. It's neutral. And then when you idea, you can then decide on how best to cascade. And this is not running away from what Lan said regarding you just cascading the same creative everywhere. No, that's not what I mean by that either. For me, I work in the alcohol industry, and because of the restriction of we all know that in Nigeria, alcohol you can only advertise after certain times. So out of home is actually very important for us. It's very important. So it's not question, Korede, it's not an afterthought in my industry, you know, because we spend a lot of money. We spend more money on out of home than any other medium within any other medium, out of home and social media, where there is no alcohol timing restriction, there's no watershed. So so it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Actually, depends on what your objective is. That will determine the medium that you put forward as your lead medium and then supporting medium. So that's basically what should drive it. What should drive what you decide to use should be your strategy. If your strategy, like ours, is something that, okay, you have more exposure out of home, you can be there from morning to night, nobody's saying, oh, you can only come on at 8 p.m. on radio or 10 p.m. on TV, then of course it's an important medium for us and we use it. But still, to some extent, it's still a supporting medium because I can only say so much, right? So that's
okay. Thank you so much. So this next question is a very interesting one. So I don't know, you know, okay, so as creatives, colors and texts go a long way in passing across your message. However, okay, and there are some colors that you see that you can easily tie to some brands. You don't even need the name of the brand to be there. It's you know, it's just like a copy. When you see it, you have an idea of what you might have an idea of what kind of brand that is behind it and all that. However, we've seen over time where certain brands, I'm not going to mention names, have adopted same colors for their creatives on outdoor. You even see some on TV and, you know, TV and even digital. So the question would now be, how important are colors and texts in the development of out-of-home creatives? So I don't know if Lekon, I would have you just take this for us.
Okay, I know that color fonts are actually, some assets that brands really have. The truth is, the world is filled with many colors, really. But I mean, if you look at the most impactful colors, whether you like it or not, you're gonna basically have certain brands having similar colors. You understand? But the truth is, and this is where creativity actually comes in, how you use the colors, how you choose your font type or your typography set, or how you have intended to also add other similar or some unique elements to it to just basically differentiate you from a typical example. I mean, I was with some clients at some point, and well, fortunately and unfortunately for them, they have similar colors to like MTN. And then the first question is, should we actually use yellow? Because the moment you see yellow, I mean, it's MTN that comes to people's mind. But the truth is, you are in different, the industries at which, these brands play. It's actually just left into how to and I think this is where how you use other assets of the brand that is actually unique to the brand to be able to tell their own unique story. The truth is, whether you like it or not, because MTN has yellow now, doesn't mean some brands can't have yellow.
I'm sure you've seen some brands within the same category using the same colors. Well, I'm not going to mention any names.
Well, yes, there are those also.
Because so the reason I'm asking is this: if you look at it from let's step out from that shoes. Me, Korede, just driving, going to my friend's house or going to the office, and I see a message. Yeah. Probably I can't read everything, but I see a color, and it's in the same category for the consumer to understand who is who. You get, so that's it's a tricky one, and it's tricky and it's it's difficult because it makes it difficult for people to actually understand. Okay, I see Jesujoba. Okay, Lekon, just hold your thought. Let's hear what
cool.
Jesujoba wants to say about this.
All right, thank you. Lekon has already set the tone for this. Where you have brands conflicting in terms of similarity, color similarity, brand elements, and all of that, like he rightly said, it depends on how creatively you use the other elements of your brand, right? So I will mention names of brands so that we can make it as clear as possible. Budweiser has the same color elements as, and you are never going to mistake a Budweiser OH for Int'l because the way they have used elements, from the fonts, the stylizing of their text, the visuals they have used is way different from the way Int'l has done that. So no matter if they're saying the same message, if for instance they're saying satisfyingly connecting, if Int'l says it and Budweiser says it, you are getting two different messages from two different brands, and you are the consumer, you know it. Also, the use of text, like he also rightly said, Lexane also rightly said, it's how you use the text, and it also depends on the media, the OH media. There's so many OH, it's not just billboards, and I want to believe we're looking beyond.
Yeah, we're looking beyond billboards.
Yes, so it's about how you balance the white space, the image, and the text in there. So if you follow the highway billboards, the key is usually to keep the small objects bigger. Any small object you want to project to be as big as possible so that anyone who's passing at 80 mph or 100 kilometers per hour will still catch it because it's right there in their faces. But if you're doing, say, for instance, a subway mural or something that people will interact with up close, you can then be talking about adding certain details, adding more text, because they would interact with it as they move along. So I wanted to add to what Lexane had said.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesujoba. So, okay, maybe I'll just ask Steve this. So, do creative agencies, do they have, do they do legibility tests? Because we've seen scenarios where we've seen some very funny font types, and there's no test to say, okay, people can actually see this. Because when you develop something for out of home, it looks on the screen. You probably have like a 70-inch screen right before you. The colors are popping, everything is coming out well. But is there really a test? Do agencies or brands, do they do a legibility test to actually see if this actually works? It looks good on the screen, but when it comes out there, it's a different story entirely, because we've seen situations whereby clients, somebody puts a blue background, puts white text, it looks good on the screen. By the time you put it up on the billboard, the blue background and the sky, they are competing for space, and you hear clients say, "Ah, we need to take it down." Agencies do legibility tests, and if they
thank you, Korede. Not wanting to hold brief for every agency, even though I'm the president of the Advertising Association. I know they are like standard, tested and trusted best practices used to make sure that the client gets the best value for the money they pay us as agencies to develop and create. Firstly, the test. we understand how the peculiarity of our industry. Part of the things that we've been trying to do at the AAM front in conjunction with the regulator APCON is the fact that the entrance barrier to our industry has become so lowered over the years that anybody is able to bring a suitcase and say, we also create art as well. There are so many instances where, which is the organization, we also can do creative. It will be to find the quality control that are embedded in our operation as agents. We're through the process to and by the time it gets to clients, the client is going to look at it and it will go up through their own chain. It's very difficult for everybody to miss that because of that kind of quality check, control check that is embedded in it. So, but again, once you have people on the fringes who are not like hardcore professionals trying to dabble in where they don't have core competence, then you begin to see some of these things happen. And I know if the one president was here, he'll take me up on it and try to fight back. But hey,
I'm sure the guys at O1 would send. I'm sure the guys at OH Academy would send
it.
Yes. Okay, so I have a feeling that you probably have an idea of the kind of questions I have here with me, because you said something that has triggered the next question. And as you know, an agency head, we know that brick and mortar agencies or should I say digital agencies, digital creative agencies, then we have the kings of Shomolu. I'm sure a lot of people here, either directly or indirectly, must have come across the Shomolu guys. And these are your graphic artists. In some cases, we see printers among them. They're the guys that a lot of people go to for obituaries, church flyers, So why? So I'm trying to, and we've seen cases where, some brands, reach out to them to, help them develop their creatives and all that. So why should a Mr. X patronize a Shomolu expert as against a structured creative agency? Presido, I wouldn't mind if you take this question.
You know the truth. I mean, they say sometimes if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right? So that's the thing. And sometimes in some of these things, it's penny wise, pound foolish. Yes, the guy in Shomolu might look even cheaper, but then you're not getting that professional competence. They are not really skilled and trained in the whole total idea of building a brand that like you find. Like for me now, I didn't get here by accident. I started my career in 1995 as a copywriter. I worked my way through the ranks, became a creative director in another agency before we finally set of extreme. And the same thing with all the people in the agency. I'm sure with Lexen too is the same thing. If you talk to Jesujoba, he can chronicle his own. So bringing hardcore competence to the table. But if you go to the guy in Shomolu that you one or good there, you're going to an unknown quantity. You don't know the artisans, perhaps, unlike an ad agency who they are not trying to just print a job for you. They are trying to bring expertise on building a brand in the long term to the table. So it's like chalk and cheese. You can't even compare, to be honest. So, but again, the clients usually have the final say. They can choose where they go to for their services.
Lekon, what would you say to brick and mortar / digital so I can order.
I mean, boss has said everything. No, I mean, you can't compare the two. There's a science to what we actually do. I mean, there are principles that actually guide our practice, and which a lot of these guys really lack. They don't. Yeah, they understand the principles of graphic design, but they don't understand the principles of actually communicating and then building brands, over a period of time. They don't have that. I mean, if you go to a typical Shomolu, they are really concerned about the hour. What job I can knock out right now and get paid right now. They're not concerned about, and again, the clients that go there too basically just want they're not concerned about building brands really. But the case is different when you come to creative agencies, which is basically that there's a long-term goal, there's a long-term objective. We are basically trying to solve a problem which we must actually put the science into it, and then, being guided by the principles that actually guide our practice. So, I mean, with all of this, it's just, really apparent that, I mean, we can't compare really. You either, invest, put your money where your mouth is, by putting your money with those that actually would help you build your brand and also help you, build something that's really impactful that would also help your bottom line at the end, as against, someone that really is concerned about their own bottom line. Because the truth is, coming to creative agencies is a partnership of some sort. I mean, it's a partnership. You want to actually build each other, build something that we really care about, which is the brand. The brand is at the center of this thing, this relationship that we have. So while the creative agency is trying to build, the brand custodians are also trying to. So together, we basically just want to build something together. So it's really obvious that the difference is really care. I mean, it's really. Yeah.
Thanks for your your response on that. Okay, so Steve had mentioned something earlier, talking about the medium, the message, and how it works. So so looking at it from an out-of-home point of view, some people are of according to some experts, they say the medium is the message, and having that at the back of our minds and tying it to out of home, would you actually agree with that, that side of the divide that says the medium is the message? And if you do, or if you do not, can you, just help us? Because most times, most out of home messaging that we see, it's one message and sits on different out of home formats or touch points. Some people believe it should be the other way around. So whatever, if you are creating, let's say you're creating maybe a world mural, for example, shouldn't the world mural or the location where the world mural is located, shouldn't that help, craft the kind of messaging you should put there? So I would ask Jumoke to help us, shed more light on this.
You're always setting me up. Anyway, the message, the medium is the message. Well, to be honest, it really depends, right? Because, and I say this because to a large extent, it depends on what your objective is, what you want to achieve at the end of the day for what you're doing, because you don't just spend, millions of naira to put up a message on an out of home or even a TVC or radio, whatever, but without having an objective. You want to accomplish something. You want your consumer to walk away with something, or you want to prompt an action, with your consumers. So it depends on what you want to achieve. If, for example, okay, let me, and again, I'm going to say this from what I do here. For us, it's important that every year we understand what we want to achieve in terms of what the research is saying regarding the brand, and we craft our strategy and execution based on this. And if, for example, my data is telling me that, okay, I need to find a way to regionalize my messaging. for example, probably maybe something is happening in the east that is not happening in the south, or something is happening in the west that's not happening, in the north, then I need to maybe do some sort of localization. Then from that point of view, yes, I would say that, okay, fine, maybe my messaging and when you say messaging again, sorry, before I go on with that line of thought, what people assume is messaging is not what I see as messaging. For example, people see messaging as, okay, you have, for instance, you have two-face on a billboard and it says, taking you to 2 or something like that. People assume that's your messaging. And then you want to ensure that, okay, everywhere you go, it's two-face and that statement. That's not the messaging. The messaging basically is what you're trying to communicate. So it doesn't have necessarily to be two-face everywhere. If two-face is not received, in the East, then I'm not going to put two-face in the East. I'll probably use a different model, a different person that I feel maybe the people in the East will be more receptive to. But at the end of the day, my underlying message in terms of what I want the consumer to take away will remain the same. But the form with which it comes out might be different. I might decide to say it in Pidgin, I might decide to say it in Igbo or whatever, so that also, is based on strategy. All of these things is based on what you want to achieve, what you want to achieve based on what you are putting out there. So that's basically how I see it. So sometimes, yes, you can be the same message across board if that's what you are trying to achieve. Sometimes it might be different messaging across board. When I mean messaging, I may be different look and feel, but the same messaging, because I think you can't be saying one thing, you can't be saying that you are black and you can't be saying you are white all at the same time. So you can say you are black in one way, in one form, and you can say you are black in another form in a different location. So that's basically how I see it. So you're talking about maybe having a mural and then having an out of home, maybe like a digital billboard. It depends on what you want to achieve. Sometimes the digital billboard, you might not be able to paint it in the same form, shape in the mural. So of course it's still going to be the same messaging, but definitely a different outlook in terms of what you take away. And then again, you mentioned something around having something in Ajigula and having something in VI. So there's a certain level of segmentation that you do again when you're deciding on where you want to put your boards, because we do that, right? You need to understand, okay, fine, my consumers, where are they? Are they in this location? Are they in that location? And it's based on that I will determine where we're buying the boards. We're not just going to buy boards in every nook and cranny, even if you don't have a single consumer in that location. That's a waste of money. So that also needs to come into it when you're deciding. So deciding what you put on your billboard or whatever media format, it's based on, again, coming to what your objective is and what you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
So,
Jesujoba, what do you think about, as I've asked, what are your thoughts on that? As a copywriter, I know you're a copywriter and you do a lot of magical stuff, so.
Well, I think she has hit the nail on the head by saying, first, the misconception that people have about the message on the billboard. So how the message is expressed may differ from one location to the other, may differ from one form of OOH to the other. But if the core, like Sir Steve said from the very beginning, the idea is what is most important. How you choose to express it and the media you use to express it are all, devices of expressing this idea. So if you say the medium is the message, I would want to disagree. I would want to say that statement is interchangeable. Sometimes the message you want to pass across determines the medium that you're going to use. Like we said, Jumoke said, if your consumers are not in Marina, why are you putting billboards or buying billboards or doing murals on tall buildings in Marina? It's beautiful aesthetically, but it doesn't make any money sense, right? So if you want to pass across a message in a particular region, on a particular medium, then you use the people or the message, the speak that those people relate with. If it's in Ibadan, for instance, you can use an Odunlade, you can use people that these guys would easily relate with. You can use messages like some stuff that have Yoruba, like you are doing well, like this brand that uses you are doing well, you know, Omoluabi. And if you use Omoluabi in the East, problem Mawa. Sorry for those who don't speak Yoruba. You know? But if you're going to say that same message in the East, you're going to find someone the Easterners relate to say that same message, you know, in the East. So I don't absolutely agree with the medium being the message. That's my standpoint.
Okay, so now one of the things that actually, you know, brought that into that question about is we've seen, you know, there are times when, so we're not restricting this is not even a billboard, you know, scenario, but a lot of us have, or some of us have had the opportunity to travel out of the shores of this country. Yeah, we're still in the trenches, or they are still in the trenches, like they say. So, and we've seen beautiful, innovative, out-of-home formats. Like so beautiful that we take pictures with them. We have them maybe on your screensaver, on your mobile phones. You know, you have the Eiffel Tower, Abu Dhabi, everywhere looking all colorful, which in the real context, that's actually out of home. And we desire to have those things when we come back home. So when you come back to Nigeria, you're greeted first by the heat. And when you get to the airport, you know, you see very funny looking bus shelters. So the question is this: how or what can out-of-home practitioners do to change that perception? Because there are times when brands, you know, reach out to agencies to say, guys, we need something innovative, we need something different, we need something this, we need something. And very few brands have been able to, you know, yeah, crack it, yeah, which we need to commend them for. But in most cases, it's, you know, it's the usual. So what can out-of-home practitioners do to change the conversation? And how can brands support this development? So I will start off with Presido on that.
Thank you. I think that question actually is just a follow-up from the last conversation that everybody has spoken on. You know, and also I'll pick my train of thought from the last question, which about the medium being the message. Yes, I think I'm aligned with what Jumoke and Jesujoba said, but I'll just amplify just a little bit. Sometimes it's just not enough that the medium is the message. Sometimes the medium is not just the message, the medium is how the message is delivered, which brings us to some of the stuff, some of the fancy stuff we see abroad. Let's not forget where the megawatts of electricity. So it is desirable to be able to have. So do you know how many? Sometimes, you know, so we desire all of those things, but all of the infrastructural deficits. The medium is the location. It's about location. So it's one thing to put your billboard in Onwukaeme. It's another thing to put an out-of-home communication in Onwukaeme. It's another thing to put it in the metaverse, which is the current conversation people are talking about now. So again, it is about location, right? So yeah. Those details. Now, to come to your last question, is what can the thing is that we can always try, but I mean, within the micro system that we operate as out-of-home officers, we also have to deal with the macro infrastructural issues that this country is dealing with today, which is a lack of power. Even maybe when the roads even get better, okay, when the roads get better, are people going to spend less time in traffic? Would it even affect our industry? We need to plan for all of those things. So it's about being future forward in our thinking, because the road is, they say it's because trees are close to trees. That's why it looks like the monkey is very smart. Keep the trees poles apart and let's see how smart the monkey is. Let's remove all of the hold up and traffic in Lagos and let's see how efficient the out-of-home communication will become. Okay, on the autobahn in Germany, there's no speed limit on those autobahn. My mother-in-law was telling me how she's driving 180, and do you want to kill yourself? So how much of your out-of-home communication would they see if you were to place it on the autobahn? Then maybe no wonder I don't see too many out-of-home communication actually on the autobahn, apart from directional signs. So some of those things will have to come into play to say, how are we able to think forward? How are we able to embrace technology and do more stuff? How are we able to overlay some of our technology strategy on our out-of-home locations and the things we do? We can only do a bit, but then we'll always be hamstrung because of the infrastructural challenges we have in Nigeria as a nation.
All right, Lekon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely align with what Steve actually said. I mean, for me, it boils down to people, really. Understanding the people, understanding how they behave, understanding, the factors around them, and then to basically see how we can make use of the very opportunity we have to communicate to them, really. I mean, the examples that he cited, I mean, very valid examples. If you take away our traffic, really, would we still be communicating on OH the way we actually do?
Sure,
because it is designing.
I said I'm sure the traffic will be there for a long time.
Well, I mean, that is subjected to whoever wins the next elections, if they are willing to actually. If they are willing,
we do not support any political aspirations.
Don't let us talk about that one for now. But basically, really, I mean, looking at this example that I cited in Germany, for example, I mean, if you situate that same thing, if you take it to Dubai, Dubai has these the very large billboards that you actually see that could actually span, a very long stretch.
I think it's about 100,000 square meters or thereabouts.
You understand? Exactly. And the messaging on it are not that much that you would drive a short while. I mean, you'll still be seeing the same billboard, So, I mean, we can't do that here because budget does not really, encourage to put stuff on those kind of billboards. So we need to really understand our environment and understand our people, and then begin to design for them, to be able to communicate to them. It might actually just be that, we just find a smart way to speak to, where they are most cluttered. And then just find that smart way. Probably is putting something on the billboard that's really, on a building that is close to them, or something that is just along their path. I mean, we just need to be smart about it, and that's where I believe that ambience, ambience marketing can actually be impactful too. We need to start considering, other factors also.
So how can brands, support this? Jumoke, I'll probably throw this to you. How can brands, support this? Because in a lot of cases, a lot of brand custodians, and they have every right to ask. We need innovative ideas. We need something out of the box. So whose job is it to, come up with those innovative ideas? Is it the brand owners? Is it the media owners? Is it the creative agency? Or perhaps the media owners? Whose job is it? Because we get a lot of, we get a lot of all these feedbacks from a lot of clients saying we need to do something different. We need to up the game. We need to, people are looking for, unipoles, large formats, they'll be there. but there needs to be something that would, because the environment is cluttered. And when there's something different, consumers or people generally would notice something different in their landscape. So, you know, who's, in your own perspective, whose job is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's everybody's job actually, because innovation comes in different form and shape, right? It's not just about you're trying to replicate what you have in Times Square, for example, because like Steve said, it's, you know, we just don't have the amenities to be able to do that, right? But there are other things that we can do based on, you know, what we do have, you know, to kind of like to strike out and to be innovative and to be different. So, and I don't think that should come from one person. I think it should come from all of the above. Of course, there are ways clients, the brands can come up with ways of, okay, how can we do things differently? They can come up with ideas and then share with board owners and say, okay, fine, can you guys achieve this? Or can you guys do this? Same thing goes to the agencies as well. They can come up with ideas and say, oh, okay, we have this idea. Clients, are you interested? You know, if the client is interested, then we can go to the media owner and say, okay, fine, we want to do this with your board. You know, even though I know that sometimes one of the biggest challenges here locally is budget, right? Because we've had a few ideas before in the past where we wanted to do something a bit crazy with the board, with an existing board. And by the time we kind of like factored in what's going to cost to build that or to fabricate this and to put this and to do this, and the budget was coming to the entire budget for your entire campaign. So you have to, as my boss would say, you have to choose your battles, right? You can't have everything you want because budget is not, you know, is limiting. You don't have like unlimited budget. So that's it. So it can come from anywhere. I think we all need to keep on, you know, innovating and keep thinking about new ways of doing things. You know, ideas are not restricted to one person. It will come from anyone, anywhere, any point, any form. So that's what I believe.
Jesujoba, what do you think about, what are your thoughts on this? You know?
Well, yeah, I'm of similar opinion in the sense that it's not just one person's job. I mean, we've all seen how these things have worked in several other clients, right? And we all want better representation for our brands, our products across different OOH. The OOH media practitioners have a responsibility to keep looking for innovative ways, because in the end, they are the ones that we would then defer to buy these media spaces, to say, okay, we need these LED boards, we need these, what other media do you have available? We have flagpoles, we have this underway that you can use. Of course, there's also BRTs and all of that. So we need to keep thinking of other innovative ways. Of course, now there's 3D, there's 3D OOH as well, which has been incorporated from other countries. We see Tokyo make use of 3D OOH advertising like crazy. It's almost surreal. So it's a collaborative effort. So we as the creators of the content, we probably come up with an idea we feel will run better as a 3D OOH. You know, we have this discussion with our brands and say, hey, this will work as 3D. Trying to put it on a flat 2D will not give the same look and feel. Question then would be, do we have 3D boards available? Or can we do 3D with the LED boards that we currently have available? So when we ask those questions, we would know what we have, we will take stock, and then we'll be able to say, okay, we may not have this now, but we would then work towards having it, you know, subsequent. And I think that's where the collaboration comes in. We can't, no single entity can develop this alone.
Yeah, I'm happy you actually mentioned, you know, the 3D idea. I know probably some of us must have seen, I can't remember the location, I think somewhere in London or so, the curved 3D screen. I know we've seen it. And interestingly, we've had situations whereby, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, But we've had situations whereby brands have requested that, okay, let's develop something similar for our market. Somebody actually did a sample, a media actually, did a sample, and which came out well. However, when the brief was, it was pushed to the creative partners, and the bill was, it was massive. It was massive. The bill was so massive that it was taking about, let's say, 2/3 of the cost of media. That was how big it was. And, they reached out to an agency, outside the shores of the country, and that was what they, they quoted for that. But it's one of those things. I'm sure back end probably you guys will probably be receiving such briefs. So as we round off, I would really appreciate if we can all just give a charge to everyone on this call, because majority of the people on this call are out-of-home experts, out-of-home new entrants, and like Kingsley had mentioned earlier, this platform was created to educate, because we know that there's a gap and we're trying in our own little way to fill up that gap. So I would start off by Presido. I'd appreciate if you could just give us then Jumoke, then Jesujoba, and my creative director Ladejobi. So in that order. Thank you.
Thank you, Korede, and thank you to everyone on this call. Just a massive shout out, first and foremost, to everybody who is in that trade, that special category of being an out-of-home practitioner. I think sometimes we are reluctant to give each other our flowers, but I think it's right for me to give the flowers to the out-of-home sector, that because we've seen massive improvement from what it used to be when I started my career, for instance, or maybe even as far back as 10 years ago, there's been improvement in leaps and bounds. But like they say, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement, right? So we'll always continue to strive for improvement. And it takes a community to raise a child. So it's the same thing here. It will take the entire ecosystem of marketing communication to continue to drive those innovations that we want to see happen in this sector. But let's not forget, also practitioners can seize the gauntlet and make it a marketing advantage if they are able to pioneer certain innovation to drive more market themselves. So let's not give up on striving to reach for excellence, because what the changes that are coming ahead are way more than what has happened already. And every 6 months, that's why you see iPhone keeps releasing updates on their iOS. We need to have that same mentality, because we'll come to a time, what is going to happen to the out-of-home sector when there are driverless cars on the road? So this is the time to start thinking of some of those things. There are so many disruptions that they look far away. They look like a sci-fi movie, but they're going to get here. So until we begin to look at that, what can we do with augmented reality, all the 3D innovation that is happening now? But we must not stop. We must keep pushing the envelope. We must just be ahead of the curve, trying to think what's the next best thing that we can do. But it will still take the ecosystem to build the sector. And I thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Jumoke?
Yeah, thank you. I think everything has been said, and a lot of improvements have happened. But at the same time, I know there's still a lot of room for improvement in the industry. But I know that the practitioners are doing a lot. I know that they're investing a lot, because I know a lot of these boards are not cheap to basically, put them up, both the static and the 3D, and it costs a lot of money to run the gens that keep all these the boards running, because we know that of course there's no power, there's no but I know that a lot can still be done, and I would just like to ask that we just keep innovating and keep improving. Innovation does not necessarily mean you have to try and replicate something that is in like China, or with like a curved screen or something, even though yes, we'll get there eventually. But even if it's just maybe the quality of the screens, like it was said just a few minutes ago, iPhone brings out a new design like every year. The screens, resolution of screens change and all of that. So we can, can improve like by doing the little things, that will just ensure that the boards, the quality of the boards kind of like improve even with what we have currently. So that's the only thing I'm going to say regarding as in what we can do better. But like I said, the industry has really evolved, and I know that it can only get better from here. So yeah, kudos to everybody, both the agencies, both the board owners, and of course the brand owners as well.
Thank you so much, Jumoke. Jesujoba.
Thank you. What I would say is, first off, well done to every practitioner for so far, making the most of what we have in our country right now, and creating the best out of the situation. Also, like Steve said, is to continue to ask ourselves those pertinent questions. What do we do when this media becomes a little less obsolete? What happens when things evolve to the point where nobody interacts with these kinds of media that we're used to? How then do we pass the message across? How then do we remain continuously profitable in a way that they interact with it and we make more money from it as well? Because the end goal in actual sense is making money anyways. So it's to think, keep that curiosity, just keep pushing it, driverless cars were mentioned. What do we do with interactive out-of-home experiences? What do we do with creating experiences out of our out-of-home materials, as against just visual interaction, 2 seconds, 3 seconds? How do we keep it immersive? All of these questions, the more we find answers to them, the more solutions we can provide.
All right, thanks a lot, Jesujoba. Last but not the least, Lekon.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity to actually speak to, the group. It's been an amazing experience, really. For me, I think most of the things that I wanted to say has been said already. The fact that we need to collaborate more. It's like Steve said, it's an ecosystem. So most times when we work for brands like that, we basically work with other, other members of the marketing communication group, really. So creative, out of home, media, and all of those things. There's power in, coming together and then, putting our skill sets, our strengths on the table to begin to see how we can actually create a robust solution that can actually, be powerful. So I believe strongly in collaboration a whole lot. I also believe, strongly that, innovation is you basically just improving what you are doing. So, the way we actually do, out of home today compared to how it was some years back, it's improving, and then it can also improve. But what it means also is that we also have to, kind of go to the future, so to speak, and then see how we can begin to, create for, for it really. Joba said something around interactive out of homes. A lot of people are on their phones most times. How do we begin to also ensure that technology aid what we are doing? So you pass a billboard, for example, and then something pops on your phone, just by passing by that billboard, the same message just pops on your phone. We need to start thinking in that light also. Technology has really come to disrupt a lot of things, and it's going to change a whole lot. It's changing a whole lot, and we need to start preparing ourselves for it also. Steve talked about the metaverse. People are already buying houses, buying lands, buying billboards in the metaverse. I wish I had that kind of money to just buy, buy billboards there. We need to start thinking in that direction too, because Snoop Dogg actually recently did a music video in the metaverse. So you have to actually enter into the metaverse to see it. there was some other guy that I saw recently. His bed wasn't comfortable, but in the metaverse, he's sleeping on the largest bed that you can ever think about. And the guy is comfortable like that, So we need to start thinking in that direction. These things are changing. NFTs is disrupting the creative space, and Twitter Spaces is disrupting many things. We need to, at the end of the day, is how we reach the people. Now, how we actually also now reach our own people, because our people are kind of different from people in America, people in Dubai. We are peculiar. We have our own ways. We have our own, behavior, and all of. We need to consider all of those things, and then design for our people. We need to start designing for our people, not basically just, copy and pasting. We need to start, working towards how we can actually communicate to our people. So yeah, thank you for the opportunities again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Presido. Thank you so much for. I actually want to especially thank you, because we know we're supposed to do this last week and you were available, even though we had to move it to this week, but you were available for us. I want to say a massive, massive thank you to you, sir. Jumoke, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Jesujoba, thank you so much. Lekon, thank you so much. To everyone on the call, thank you so much. And over to Kingsley for closing remark.
Yeah, Korede, thank you for moderating this. It was a wonderful session. And thank you, boss. Already I said thank you, but I will say thank you. And when I tapped you, I had to come and hit you up at Makako 1.0 and say, boss, don't forget this program. And you actually laid it up for us. Thank you very much. We appreciate. I want to use the opportunity to tell everybody this is just for us to understand that we're driving change in industry. It's very necessary for us to drive this change in out-of-home space. Very important. In different topics that we have will come up. But we must still reach out to any of you when it comes to things that have to relate to creative conversations again, so that we'll be able to encourage most of practitioners to do better in terms of engage with their clients and how they would expect for us to have, because the audience there they can't differentiate between the advertisers. They will say advert is advert. Whether the creative guy, I don't know, models are part of advertisers today. So it's an integrated system. So thank you so much, boss. I want to use the opportunity to tell those people that got the answer right, that boss was coming on the ground to say this particular set of persons, there were about 10. We promised to give to 5 persons 1K charge card, but because it has been a long way, we said, okay, let's give to everyone who has gotten the answer right. And these are a list of persons who have gotten about 10 to 11 persons that have gotten it right. We've reached out to them. We'll be disbursing their recharge card as soon as possible. And this is what for me to say. This is the end of the whole Boardroom 105. And I want to tell you, thank you everyone for turning out and listening. But most importantly, let us take the charge into work. That is why we're doing this. It's not just about converging, it's about acting on it. That is the essence of this program. And I say, may everybody have a lovely weekend and a long holiday, rest, and say we meet next time at the Boardroom. Thank you, boss. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kingsley.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.